Hey Changemaker! Welcome to Learning for Good, the only podcast that teaches nonprofit leaders how to leverage training to drive performance, improve capacity, and fuel their mission impact. Do you ever feel like your nonprofit is growing, but your people just aren't keeping up? Or like you're fixing the same problems over and over? Do you wonder how to build confident, capable staff who know how to lead, not just execute? If we haven't met yet, I'm Heather, and I know how hard it can feel to get people to do what's expected of them. Trust me, I have 3 kids. I've tried telling people what to do and how. I've tried the traditional training approaches, and I realized that just doesn't work. And that's when I started researching what does work. Now, I help mission-driven leaders use learning to drive performance, build capacity, and make change that lasts. And I'm sharing it all on this podcast. So block your calendar, turn off your Teams or Slack chat, and let's dive in. It's Learning for Good.
A few months ago, I received an email from my oldest daughter's school. It was about an overnight middle school trip. And every year, the middle school goes on this trip. And it's pretty common. I have a vague memory of going to DC at some point in my childhood. I remember my brother going as well. I've had middle school teacher friends over the years who have taken their classes on trips. And my daughter's school does it too. So it's apparently a thing and pretty common. But it's something that I felt surprised by. It was the first communication about the trip. And the trip was just a few weeks away. And something about the rush of it gave me a little bit of a pause, a little bit of a hesitation. I'm not sure why, but I went to the informational meeting to kind of learn a little bit more about the trip and what to expect. But I went in a little skeptical. And during the meeting, they shared how amazing the trip is every year and how much the kids love it, which I'm sure is true. But I didn't walk away feeling like my concerns were addressed. I didn't understand what they would be doing on the trip. Yeah, it's fun. They enjoy it, but what are they doing? Who would be with them? I had concerns and I wasn't sure if I wanted to send my daughter, given the rushed timeline. I wasn't sure I'd get answers before the trip started. So fast forward, the trip was postponed, my questions were answered, and she'll get to go on the trip. But it wasn't until my concerns were addressed that I could see a future where she would get to go. And it's the same at work. So if your stakeholders can't see a future where training works, they won't support you either. So today I want us to talk about 5 common concerns that leaders have about training and how to address them. Let's dive in. It's Learning for Good. I've been in L&D for about 20 years and in nonprofit for about 14 or so. And in my experience, we see 3 types of leaders when it comes to training. Those who just throw a training at the problem, right? You have this problem, we have this performance issue, we have this challenge, this thing, let's just train people. Those who don't believe training will work, and those who fully support what we do. Okay? So those 3 types of leaders are the people that I personally interacted with over the course of the last 20 years. And today, I want to focus on those last 2. Those who don't believe training will work, so the skeptic, and those who fully support what we do, the believer. When we face a skeptic, we have to lean in. We have to understand their concerns, and we have to help them see how what we do can support their goals. And so that's what we're going to explore today. So I want you to imagine that you're having a conversation with your COO, and we'll call her Maria. You've already had strategic conversations with leadership and uncovered some skill gaps that you know you can help fill. The problem is Maria is not a believer. She does not think training is the answer. And You recognize this, so you set a meeting with Maria to understand her perspective. And during the call, she shares her concerns. And when you hear these concerns are actually objections. And so to get her to move from unsupported skeptic to all in, you have to understand what these objections are, and you have to handle them. You have to address them. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So what are Maria's objections? So maybe she says, we don't have capacity for training. You talk to her a little bit more and she says, well, it just costs too much. We don't have the money for that. What if we train people and they leave? It doesn't really work, right? Training doesn't really work. And really, you can't prove it. You can't prove that it does, right? These are objections. And we have to address every single one of these. See, the problem is Maria only sees a leaky bucket. And every single one of these objections, it's a hole in the bucket. And Maria doesn't want a holy bucket, right? She doesn't want water filling out everywhere. She wants a bucket that works. And training seems like a distraction from this. So we have to handle each objection, showing how training can help patch these holes. Because that's what she cares about, a bucket that works, right? So we don't have capacity for training. You might say something like, our training is designed to reduce friction in the work, not add to it. The goal is fewer corrections, less rework, and clearer expectations, not more time away from the job. So you want to start to think about her objection, capacity, time. We don't have capacity for this. We don't have time for this. So how will the training actually help give her more time? Fewer corrections, less rework, clear expectations. Those are things that can come from training. And so when we are able to address that concern, we can patch that hole in the bucket. It costs too much. Maybe she says it costs too much. You might say, this training investment targets a specific operational problem. The alternative is to continue absorbing the cost of inefficiency, inconsistency, and errors that could have been avoided. So leadership has already decided there are some challenges, and you have already determined that there are skill gaps present that training can address. And so if training doesn't address those problems continue. And there are costs associated with those problems, just like there are costs associated with training. And so if we can reverse this objection, yes, training costs money, but so does not fixing the problem, right? We can start to address that objection. We can start to handle that objection and patch that hole. What if we train people and they leave? This is one that I have heard many times. People are your largest resource. Often they're the largest line item in your budget. We need to make sure that we spend that part of our budget wisely. And that means investing in them. Yes, it's possible they may leave. But if they do, they leave feeling good about their experience at our organization, which may translate into them telling other people about us, becoming a volunteer, becoming a donor in the future, right? And we haven't lost anything if that happens. We've only gained from that investment. On the other hand, if you don't invest in them and they stay, they can bring down morale, create inefficiencies, become even less productive, all things that cost more money. So again, what if we train people and they leave? It's a common objection, but how can we address it? We want to patch the hole. Now, it doesn't really work. training doesn't really work. Some training doesn't work. But we are designing for application, not attendance. It's not about butts and seats. It's about behavior change. So we're going to design training that focuses on what people need to do differently in their roles, not just what they need to know, what they need to learn. And we know that training alone doesn't create change. We know that's true. And so we're building in reinforcement so new behaviors are supported over time. And when we do this, it works. So again, we're addressing that objection and we're filling that hole. She's listening, right? You're saying that it works, but we can't actually prove that it works. This is an objection. You can't prove that training works. You might say something like, I know that we've typically only tracked completions and whether people like the training or not. That's true. And that doesn't prove that training works. But this time, we're looking for observable behavior changes. What managers see happening more consistently on the job, rather than just looking at completion rates or satisfaction scores. There is a plan to measure it. There is a plan to prove it works. Now you've patched the holes. It's not a leaky bucket anymore. Now, in the real world, you would want to ask Maria, your COO, whoever your skeptic is, you would want to ask more questions to uncover why that person holds the beliefs they do. Like, why do they believe that training doesn't work? That's a legitimate objection. It's their belief. But why do they believe that? You want to dig in a little bit more so that your response can be a little more specific and targeted to their objection. But this episode, it's really not about the exact answers that I gave here. Just copying and pasting these answers are probably not going to get you very far. It's not about the answers themselves. It's about helping Maria, your COO, your skeptic, whoever that is for you. It's about helping Maria see something new. If she's focused on the leaky bucket, she can't see a solution. She just sees water pouring out everywhere, right? She sees the problem. And your job as the learning and development professional, your job is to get her a new vision, a vision of a bucket that is fixed. This bucket works as intended. It does its job. Or in this case, in the nonprofit sector, right, it helps you fulfill your mission. This is how you move people from skeptic to believer. This is how you get their support. And once you have that support, you have to deliver. You have to design solutions that knock it out of the park. You have to design solutions that actually change behavior. You have to create learning that sticks. And that's exactly why I'm hosting a virtual conference later this month. It's the Learning for Good Summit, and this time's theme is Leading Learning That Sticks. It's a week-long virtual experience for nonprofit and association training professionals who are ready to move beyond reactive training delivery and step into strategic learning leadership. With sessions across 5 days, you'll explore the mindset shifts, decision frameworks, and execution systems that separate busy training teams from trusted learning leaders. From tech decisions to measurement, from strategy to sustainable execution, this event will help you think more clearly, act more intentionally, and lead learning that actually drives change. If you're tired of being pulled into the training intake chaos, pressured to just create it, just train them, or asked to prove impact without clarity, this week-long experience will give you the tools and perspective you need to respond differently. I'll drop the link to register for this conference, the Learning for Good Summit, in the show notes, and I can't wait to see you there. I'll see you next time on Learning for Good.
Hey friend, was this episode helpful for you? Did you like what you heard? Do you want more content like this? Here are 3 things you can do. Hit subscribe, leave a review on Apple Podcasts or your podcast app of choice, share this episode with a colleague. This means so much to me personally. I read every review, but it also helps me learn what content you like most so I can create more of what you want. All right, turn that Teams or Slack chat back on when you're ready, and I'll see you next time on Learning for Good.